but I also presented on our 1-1-1 model.
Yeah.
Which is the 1% equity, 1% profit, 1% time. And Larry and Sergey came up to me afterwards and they said, you know what? We're going to do that too. And we're going to create Google.org and we're going to do the 1% also. And I want to thank them for that. And thank you.
Well,
and thank Google for that, because it created a huge foundation with a huge amount of good. Yeah. And that was the very first time I had met Larry and Sergey, and it was an incredible moment. So, and just at that moment, you were kind of coincidentally joining Google.
That's right. And
so, was it before the IPO or after?
I think I joined. The IPO happened like 3 weeks later.
Fantastic. So they joined. You joined. The company is going public.
That's right.
Now, is it at that point? Now, who was CEO at that point? Was it Eric or Larry?
It's Eric. Yeah.
Eric. And is that when you said to Eric, "I'm going to take your job, Eric"?
The thing I did recall, it was in 2004, around 2006 is when, the thing with Eric, I still remember that. Me and a few others, we wanted to build a browser. And Eric had gone through the browser wars before, was super familiar with it. I remember vividly Eric telling us, are you crazy? You know what it takes to build a browser? We're not building a browser. We still did it anyway, but he was super generous. And once we kind of bootstrapped a browser, a small team, and then we demoed it to him and Larry Sergey. And once he saw how good it was, he became one of the biggest supporters of it. But that's how Eric and I interacted. Yeah.
All right, well, now you're squarely at Google, and it's a storied career for the next 21 years, from starting on this kind of incredible team that built the marquee browser, Chrome, all the way to today as the CEO. Reflecting on that, 2 decades, what is your thought across this arc from South India now to this leadership journey at Google?
Look, I think technology is one of the biggest enablers we know, right? It drives innovation at a fundamental level. If anything, that journey is accelerating, right? I think we are living in the middle of it. Sometimes we may not fully feel it, but the pace at which it's evolving, and I feel, and I'm sure Mark feels that way. Our job is to be good stewards of this technology, bring it in a way that really benefits society at scale, right? And so this journey to harness technology in a way that positively impacts humanity, I think that's what we need to do. We obviously do it in the context of building companies, but companies with a purpose, companies which give back. I think both Salesforce and Google share that deeply, and you inspired the Google journey there. I think there is no better technology to do that than AI, right? And one of the first things, when I became CEO was we had gone through a decade of being a mobile-first company, and, I wanted to drive the shift to being an AI-first company. So that's what we did in 2017. In fact, in 2017 at Google I/O, we spoke about this concept of AI-first data centers. And, we announced our first generation of TPUs in 2017. But it's been a journey. I think in many ways, Larry, Sergey were visionary around always understanding the true potential for AI. I was fortunate to go through maybe 4 distinct moments which kind of like really brought it all together for me. In 2010, I went with Larry to the DARPA Grand Challenge, where they were testing autonomous cars, and we saw this car, the Sebastian's team, which won the DARPA challenge. So you kind of saw the progress that's possible. Jeff Dean, Jeff Hinton and team had come to Google, and so Jeff Dean demonstrated Google Brain in 2012, the ability for Google Brain to recognize cats using a neural network. That was 2012. I met Demis and team in 2014, and then in 2016 was the AlphaGo moment, right? So seeing all this, it was fortunate to be at that kind of a vantage point, which is why in 2017, I said the company has to be really focused on, it was obvious to me this was going to be the decade of AI. And so that was the journey since then.
Okay, so now let's go back about 3 years when we started to have some very interesting conversations, because all of a sudden, here's Google, the absolute leader in AI, DeepMind, now Demis, the Nobel Prize winning Demis. We never thought that was about to happen. It's incredible what has happened. Well, very well warranted. And now, 3 years ago, here you are, the leader in AI. You are leading the company through this transformation. You're putting guardrails in, appropriate guardrails. You're being conservative, appropriately conservative. And this little company in San Francisco called OpenAI emerges with this product, ChatGPT. And we start to see these crazy headlines that say, well, Google has a competitor, and here's the situation, and here's the real leader in AI, OpenAI. What's your reaction? And, you know, take us in that journey for the last 36 months.
A few things, right? I think one of the things which was misunderstood was, you know, obviously 2017 was when we published the Transformer paper too. We started using transformers right away. We saw the power of the technology. Part of what made search so much better was post-transformer.
This is the paper, All You Need Is Attention.
Attention is all you need, yeah. And extraordinary paper. And you can say it's the foundation of everything since then, all of the Gen AI phenomenon. And we built something called BERT and MUM. So we built two transformer-based models, which is what dramatically improved search. We use transformers to make search better. We use transformers to, that's why we launched Google Photos. It was the first AI native product. We were shipping a lot, and we were working on an internal version of chatbot too. In fact, it was a chatbot. It became famous because there was an engineer at Google who thought it was sentient. You know, this was about 6 months before.
It was not sentient?
I don't, it wasn't sentient. Okay. On a lighter note, though, I did get a lawyer, like from the outside, send me a note saying, representing this product called Lambda, and so which is one of the more fascinating emails I've gotten. But
so this is a lawyer representing the sentient chatbot.
That's how it came in, right? But look, we have to take all this seriously. Obviously, the technology wasn't anywhere close to that at that time. But we were making a lot of progress. But you're right, credit to OpenAI. You know, they put it out first. And look, in consumer internet, it's not. I remember being at Google in 2006, and we were working on video search, and YouTube came out of nowhere. Or I'm sure if you were within Facebook, you saw how photos were popular in your feed, and Instagram came out of nowhere. You know, in the consumer internet world, you know, I would argue pretty much all of us working on, we knew in a different world, we would have probably launched our chatbot maybe a few months down the line. We hadn't quite gotten it to a level where you could put it out and people would have been okay with Google putting out that product, right? It was still, had a lot of issues at that time. I would argue—
There's a lot of risk putting it out at that moment.
Putting it out, and I would argue, you know, OpenAI did their deal with Microsoft 2 months before they put out ChatGPT, right? Yeah. So in some ways, I think it was, you know, in hindsight, it's a bit more obvious fully what it could be. But for me, when ChatGPT launched, contrary to what people outside felt, I was excited because I knew the window had shifted. We were building this technology. We have been building this technology for so long. We were so AI native. Everything in the company, every decision we had made, you know, I decided to take a full stack approach to AI, right? We were investing all the way from infrastructure. We built our own chips. We had world-class research teams in Google Research, Google Brain, Google DeepMind, and to the models and so on. So I just realized this was the biggest opportunity in technology. We were incredibly well-positioned, but we had to carpe diem, seize the moment, and execute well as a company, and that's the journey we've been on. We kickstarted Gemini. We brought Google Brain and Google DeepMind together. And we've been rapidly iterating since then. We have had, you know, now we have Gemini 2.5 outside. We are working on Gemini 3.0, which we will release this year. And the progress has been extraordinary. And I think the progress in 26 is going to be even more exciting than 25. So I couldn't be more excited.
One of the things, congratulations. So now let's take a quick step into the future. So here we are, we've all been at Google. We've seen the huge transformation, not only of Gemini, but even AI preview and all the technology that you're pioneering. And I don't think I've ever seen the organization go faster and quicker and also be more determined. And, it's good to have a competitor, right? It gives you a little extra motivation to get going. And number two is, we see Google also innovating in some extraordinary ways. A great example is, I don't know if you've been to San Francisco recently, but we have about 500 of these white cars called Waymos going around. And it's amazing what Google has made. It's incredible. And I would just, look at that and also think about and reflect. Yesterday we had Brett Adcock here, who has this company called Figure with robots. And, I was asking him, what is the whole stack? There's the data centers, there's the AI, and there's this kind of robotic layer, this kind of that it takes many different pieces to build the whole system end to end. And, it's difficult, Brett, it was a brilliant interview, and he's just an incredible person. But he's got 300 or 400 or 500 people, obviously all incredible, led by an incredible person. But you have way more than that. And you have way more put together, and you're really far in a lot of these areas. You're very far on let's just start at the chip layer, at the data center layer, at the software layer, at the agentic layer, at the applications layer, productivity layer, partnerships, and at the robotic layer as well. So now there's no other company that has that. I'm sure that this is the conversation in the boardroom every day. I don't really know. But this idea that Google has, this vision, really guided by, and you have to give a lot of credit to these two kids out of Stanford, Larry and Sergey, who are still so active and see them around all the time and still so passionate and youthful. And now here you are leading this company, incredible company, these amazing values that we talked about. The heart of Google is still very much in place. Now, here we are, it's 2025. Now we look out over the next 10 years. People are always overestimating what you can do this year in 2025, underestimating what Google's going to get done by 2035. Take us out to 2035. Take us into your biggest dream. Where are we going? How are you going to harness the power from the tensor to the data center, the GCP, Gemini, the applications, the partnerships, the robots? What are we going to see? What is it going to look like 10 years from now in the mind of Sundar?
Look, technology.
Just that,
yeah. Both you and I have worked long enough that you have to be humble when you think about the future. But look, we make these long-term bets. Waymo has been a very, very long journey, right? I'm proud of the fact that over the past 10 years, we continued investing in Waymo. I remember the team 3 years ago when we were coming to San Francisco, we weren't sure how this would work out. The thought in San Francisco that you would have all these cars driving around and you'd have to get it right, putting safety first, etc. But in technology, you take these long-term bets. Just last week, and I'll answer your question, but just last week, I spent, for maybe 2 weeks ago now, Monday, I'd gone to Santa Barbara in our quantum lab. I met with the team. Again, it's another journey. We've been at it for more than 10 years. I think we have the leading quantum lab in the world. I finished spending my day. I left on Monday, and Tuesday morning, I found our chief scientist there won the Nobel Prize for physics this year, right? And this is the second year in a row. You mentioned Demis and John Jumper last year. But we believe in that kind of deep fundamental R&D, right? And with a view of translating that into real products. That same quantum computing team, no different from our TPU teams, plans to have commercially available, real, at-scale quantum computers in a few years. And I think they will get there, right? So when you talk about now 10 years ahead, we are building this digital intelligence layer, not just us.
So 10 years quantum is real, is your point.
At least I for sure think so. I'm very, very bullish and confident on it. I've seen that.
That's going to put at odds cryptography as we know it today. Well, are cryptocurrencies going to be at risk with quantum computing that can break any code, you know, available from a Google or other vendors?
I think in a 3 to 5 year thing, we will have that moment where, from a cryptographic standpoint, we have to adapt to quantum for sure.
Yeah.
But I think we will.
Will that create a moment of vulnerability, do you think, for all of these currencies and all of this stuff?
It will, but I think as a society, it'll also create an opportunity for people to come and provide new solutions.
If there is a trust gap at that moment, that could be very serious. So it's something that everyone needs to be mindful about.
Mindful of, and I think there's so much at stake. I think we will collectively work together. But on the positive side, if you ask me 10 years from, look, we are definitely going to have digital superintelligence as a collaborator for all of us. That is going to be a reality.
What does that mean? That has been a phrase that everyone is starting to use, but few have been able to define it. Digital superintelligence. And is that kind of where we're going then? It's 10 years, it's digital superintelligence, it's quantum computing. Like we were talking about AGI, that term seems to be dropped. That was this concept that the software is so smart, it's just writing itself, and the data centers are being built by robots, and it's just all going. In the book that Larry talks about, we are Legion, we are Bob, that we're all off in a rocket ship collectively waking up in a robot. Is that what we're talking about?
No,
because we were talking about that yesterday with Brett, and it was like, whoa, it was a trip.
Look, the one thing, we are so good at adapting. I think we constantly underestimate, right? Obviously, 10 years ago, we used to obsessively talk about Turing tests. Like we kind of moved past it. The fact that our self-driving cars driving in San Francisco, and you're right, they're driving around, it's kind of like people are, we just kind of like, I'm not sure my kids are impressed by that, right? So it's just, like I am like blown away every time I get in one of those cars because I've, seen the progress.
How many people have been in a Waymo? Raise your hand.
How
many people have not yet been in a Waymo? Raise your hand. Oh, well, there you go.
I mean, you should before you leave, and I would check it out. But a great example is, I put my dad in the Waymo. I sat in the back seat. He was in the front seat. I watched the one forum. It felt like that science fiction, right? And my kids, they got on their phones and they were like, whatever, right? And so we have this remarkable ability to adapt. So this notion, they're just going to have, yesterday we announced this wonderful collaboration with Yale where, we used our open source models to build a cellular model on which you could target it hypothesized novel possible approaches. We took that and were able to recreate that in the biological wet lab scenario and see it actually works. This is for future potential paths for cancer. Like biologists are using AlphaFold. They are actually using open source Gemini models. But all this is happening. So I think if we underestimate humanities, we are such a remarkably resilient, adaptive species. We're going to adapt to this technology, and it's going to be there around.
Are we going to evolve into this technology like people are talking about? Or is our species going to be safe as as who we are today, or will it be an evolution? Or what's in your mind around this?
I'm always much more, I think our ability to harness this technology, I think we'll be able to do that. Some of your questions, maybe your guru might be better equipped to answer.
I think you are my guru at this point.
What's that?
You are my guru.
I definitely am not. And, I'm always hesitant to think that way. I focus on, we have to be very responsible. Look, it is powerful technology. And, I think the technology will be capable of recursively self-improving over time. So these are very profound questions, and we all have to be good stewards of it. I view at any moment, the technology is going to progress. We should embrace and innovate with it. Yep. the benefits are going to be profound, but our responsibility as leaders is to make sure we are leaving the world in a better position for the next generation than what we inherited. That's how I think about it.
We've seen Google. Great. Excellent. You mentioned the importance of getting closer to the technology. This is your passion. This is one of the reasons you went to Google. We saw Google try to get even closer with the first version of glasses. We've seen that. Do you think Google will even do like a brain-machine interface? Do you see that level of interface?
First of all, the glass dream has never gone away, right? I think we are working very hard on it. In fact, there were many things which we worked on which quite didn't work because AI wasn't fully there, right? But now that you truly have, seamless AI with intuitive interfaces for people, be it voice, gestures, vision, etc., the multimodality of AI, Google Glass is going to be back, and I think it's going to be great. And your question was, sorry, I started thinking about Google Glass now.
I just need to flick back on your brain-machine interface.
Brain-machine makes a lot of sense to me, right? I think what Elon and team are doing with Neuralink is super inspiring. When you see the examples, again, when technology, people who have real disabilities and people being able to communicate again, etc. Some of the most moving things I see, right? So I think it's
totally incredible. Here at the conference, we even had Eddie Chang from UCSF, who has this amazing new brain-machine interface company, Echo Neuro. We even had Brian Johnson, who had a brain-machine interface company. It was like multiple brain-machine interfaces.
This may be TMI, but, I've been under anesthesia. Eddie Chang operated on me. So for what it's worth, yeah. So
I didn't know that.
So he's a phenomenal...
A great surgeon.
He's a phenomenal neurosurgeon. I'm perfectly fine, but he's a phenomenal neurosurgeon. And so, yeah, one of the best around in the world.
Very good. Well, Sundar, as we start to bring this to a close, first of all, let us express our sincere gratitude to you for everything that you are doing in your leadership and your vision, your direction, and also your core values are so well in place in yourself and in Google. Tell us, what would you like to bring to the audience and to the world in your final comments in this Dreamforce interview?
Look, I would... part of the reason I'm here today, we've obviously worked for a long time together. We use Salesforce extensively within Google. We've expanded our partnership over time because of the value you all bring. You've helped us be very, very customer-focused as a company. I think the opportunity we both see is, you've made this the theme of Dreamforce this year, the agentic enterprise. I look at the model trajectory ahead. As we are working with Gemini 3.0. In 26, we're going to make, we've already had dramatic progress over the past couple of years. But the progress ahead is palpably going to be, you're going to feel these models are going to be really intelligent agents. And they're going to be more robust agents. And what we are working together is to bring it in a way, as enterprises, you want all of this to work well together. You want this to be safe, secure, the governance has to work, but ultimately you're trying to unlock the data in your enterprise and solve your use cases better than ever before. I think that is the real opportunity we have. What you're doing with Agentforce, we're proud to partner by bringing Gemini there, and the chance to do all this together for all of you in a way that makes sense for you is what I'm excited about. So thank you for...
Sundar, on behalf of all of us and Dreamforce, thank you so much for coming today. It's just a pleasure.
Thank you. And it's great to see you. Awesome.